Grims went to meet with Fred again, although he was messing around and acting silly. Fred knew what he was after, so he started talking about their real topic, which is the Gamma Republic. Grims pretended that he regretted that they couldn't have a peace treaty with the Gamma Republic anymore, and he asked Fred what they should do next since normal means of attack wouldn't work as long as Leo was around. Fred thought that peace wasn't really an option in the first place since the kingdom shouldn't accept the Republic's existence, and he thought that the Republic would crumble as long as Leo disappeared. Grims agreed, but he emphasized that only another member of the heroes' party could deal with Leo. However, Max is hopeless and Yuria has already retired, so Fred was the only option left. Fred thought that he was strong enough to deal with Leo. Grims told Fred how he had a classmate who had entered the Bureau of Magic at the same time as him, but he was able to climb the ranks much faster. However, he found out that the guy was a fraud, and he exposed all of his wrongdoings to the public, so the guy lost everything and killed himself. Then Grims took his place, and it served as a short path to his success. And although he said that he still sees him in his dreams, he didn't regret what he did at all, thinking that he corrected a guy who was headed down the wrong path. Fred declared that he wouldn't hesitate to wipe out the terrorists, but he insisted that he would deal with them alone. Grims was satisfied with Fred's plan. Inside Max's apartment, Xenia told Maou that she still hasn't finished analyzing the laxative Fred used on Max. At the same time, Max came out of the comfort room, and he was in tears. Maou thought that he was broken because of stomach problems, and it was the first time she had seen him cry like this. However, it was because he had lost a bet worth 89,000 yen. Maou scolded him for gambling even though he doesn't have a job. Max explained that he thought he would win big because of the odds, and then he said that he would go with a safer bet next time before asking Maou for some money again. And Maou actually gave him 50,000 yen, so Xenia had to scold her for enabling him. However, Maou thought that it wasn't the right time to focus on gambling before pointing at the television to show Max the intensifying conflict between the Republic and the Kingdom. The citizens thought that the attack was really caused by the Republic, but they were more upset that Max wasn't stepping out to stop Leo and his men. Max didn't want to take action, and he didn't want to continue watching the news, so he told Maou and Xenia that he was going out for a walk. Maou asked to tag along, worried that Max would blow 100,000 yen this time if she left him alone. Maou asked Max where he would want to go. He said that there would be if he were alone. Maou said that he shouldn't worry about her and that they should still go to the place, but he refused, so Maou was upset. She thought that he hated hanging out with her. She didn't know that he wanted some alone time to play with his thing. Max explained that it wasn't a place where you go with another person, and he said that he wouldn't bring him no matter what, so he ended up getting punched in the face. At the same time, a little girl called Max from behind, and she thought that Maou was his girlfriend. Maou remembered that the little girl was one of the kids who had played with Max previously, and she thanked her for looking out for Max. However, the little girl called her a thought. Maou was surprised with the way she addressed her, and she immediately tried to lecture the girl. But the girl just called her way of talking funny. Max noticed that she was bringing badminton rackets, but she was alone, so the girl explained that she doesn't have anyone to play with, and he should play with her. Max refused, but Maou asked him to play with her, saying that it was much better than gambling. The girl insulted Max for being bad at the game, but they still continued to play. Max asked if her mom was doing fine. The girl said yes before saying that her mom's belly is huge and she is having her little brother soon. Afterwards, the girl gave Maou her racket, asking her to play with Max, and she wanted to watch them instead. Max reminded Maou not to use her powers and to act naturally, as they would be in trouble if the little girl noticed something. While playing, Maou used telepathy to ask Max if he would really just sit back while Fred and Leo were trying to kill each other. He was annoyed that Maou also wanted him to take action like the other citizens, and he told her that he'd rather focus on gambling to try and get rich than meddle with the two. Because they were arguing, their game also got intense, and they started using their real strength and abilities. Maou thought that Max from 10 years ago wouldn't ignore his friend's predicaments, but Max argued that he is completely different from 10 years ago, and a demon like Maou who could stay young forever wouldn't understand him. The two were completely exhausted after their match, while the girl was just amazed by them, also saying that she had gained some respect for Max because of it. Then she gave Max a candy, saying that it was a souvenir and she was asked to give it to him. Afterwards, she asked Maou to teach her badminton techniques. Max was seriously thinking about what the little girl wanted him to do in exchange for the candy, so he didn't notice that the shuttlecock was coming straight to his eye. Fred had already made his way to the borders, and he was determined to face Leo and his allies alone. He even refused to follow the officer who tried to get him under his command. He didn't hesitate to use his magic to deal with the officer, and he didn't care that he could lose his position for it. He just wanted to end everything all at once. His subordinates were also not afraid to lose their position, and they continued to be loyal to him. They explained how the Republic's stronghold was protected by a strong barrier that could resist even the kingdom's magical weapons. However, they realized that it was completely empty at the moment. Fred wasn't surprised, and he thought it was a wise decision. Then he used his staff to cast a spell that destroyed a huge portion of the stronghold, and before flying towards the Republic, he asked his subordinates not to let anyone cross the border. The soldiers were amazed by his strength, but they thought that he didn't have to destroy the walls if he would just fly anyway. The reporters were present at the border to cover the battle, so the kingdom and its citizens were well informed of what was happening. Grims was hoping that Fred would win and end all the fiasco, but thought that it didn't matter even if he lost, as he would just continue to blame the Republic for terrorist attacks. So Trichego would be forced to abandon the Republic, and Grims thought that it would be easy to deal with them once they didn't have any backing. Then he thought that he would need to pick a more open-minded chief secretary for the Bureau of Magic if he lost Fred in the battle. At the same time, his secretary barged into the room in a panic. She showed Grims that a PooCuber was live streaming how Fred was beating Leo's men one by one, and the stream was titled "The Kingdom Invades the Gamma Republic." He couldn't understand how someone managed to get the footage, as they prevented the media from entering the border. Fred was aware of the drone broadcasting his actions, but he didn't care and continued dealing with Leo's men. The other reporters were curious about who managed to cross the border and film the battle, while Grims had already lost his cool, as banning the account used for the live stream was not enough, as someone else would just start a new one. And since he was the one who convinced Fred to fight, the other ministers thought that it was all his doing. And even when he said that he wasn't responsible for it, the ministers didn't fully believe him, as he was never trustworthy in the first place. The reporters who previously followed Max were the ones responsible for the broadcast. They managed to sneak in as they sneaked into the borders in advance and camped in the woods. Although the cameraman was happy that they could broadcast Fred's actions, he couldn't understand why he was letting them do it, as the kingdom would clearly be against it. The female reporter explained that Fred had probably stopped caring, as the kingdom that they fought to protect now had them at each other's throats, and she believes that it was the limit, even for a patient man like Fred. Then she thought that the battle between these two brothers in arms would be the entertainment that people would want to see, and they were determined to expose the truth. At the same time, Fred and Leo had finally met each other. Fred immediately insulted Leo's hairstyle, but he didn't care about it, and he apologized that his men had tried to get in Fred's way. Fred was surprised that he was not worried about his men's safety, but Leo was certain that Fred wouldn't endanger their lives. Afterwards, he asked Fred if he had also met Max lately. Fred wanted to kill Max as soon as he realized that he was telling the truth about joining the Gamma Republic. But Leo told him that although he couldn't recognize Max at first due to his disguise, he hadn't lost his touch and still is strong as hell. Afterwards, Leo asked if they would leave the drone alone. Fred let Leo decide, so he cleared up the surrounding trees to give the drone a better view. The citizens watching were surprised by Leo's strength, but Fred thought that it wasn't enough, so he used his magic to raise the ground that would serve as their battlefield. The two were determined to kill each other. Minister Franco was saddened that it had come to this, while the citizens and other ministers' attention were all focused on the coming battle, and it was the same for Max. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy this video, and please subscribe so you won't miss the next part. And just comment down any anime you want to see in this channel.